Sean Deckmar Trades, Tradecaster. We meet again. Thank you so much for coming out to the podcast room. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, buddy.
I never know how to do the intro with you because we're friends, but we're doing our own thing. Things are happening. I see you have tremendous success in this wacky, weird market that we're kind of thrown into and kind of scaring the shit out of people. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we kind of do that, the other day I was talking to my fiance and we were just breaking down certain things about ways to make money, right? The traditional 9-to-5 is not really it anymore. I don't think it is. I don't think it ever was, to be honest, but that typical 9-to-5 job just doesn't cut it anymore. So I saw recently that you made, I think it was $4,000. I think it was either you made $4,000 in a day, which someone that works a 9-to-5, that's, if you have a good salary, that's their biweekly salary. So I'm always curious to know from a stock trader, do you remember like when you were working the 9-to-5 and then the caveat to that is like, now you're making $4-5 grand, sometimes 10 grand a day. Mm-hmm. What does that feel like? Like, what is that emotion that you go through? Are there swings? Like, what does that take me through that?
Well, like, honestly, you never want to compare stock trading to a casino, but I also do think about as my money as almost like poker chips. Like when you walk into a casino, a lot of times the main trick of a casino is they give you chips so you don't realize how much money you're spending. And a lot of times when I'm looking at my brokerage and I see the little green number moving up and down, that's my real money going up and down. But when it's on the little broker screen and you just see that little green number and you see up 1,000, down 1,000, it really doesn't, comprehend to you at that moment. Like this is real money. If someone was actually taking away $1,000 in cash at the time, I feel like you'd be a lot more emotional. Same exact thing when you were in a casino. If you were actually putting in those dollar bills, $1,000 cash, $500 cash, it's almost harder to give it up. So a lot of times when you're trading and you're just so locked into the zone, you're not really even focused too much on the actual money aspect. I'm more focused on how to come out with this win. How is this trade going to be successful? But as an overall, like, do I think about the money at the end of it? $4,000 in a day? Absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was back in college, back in college, I was working a snow tube job employee. I was a lifeguard. Snow tube job employee. I was outside. I worked at, Jack Frost Big Boulder up in the Poconos, and I got paid $8 an hour. And that was more than the people who worked in the kitchen. Basically, you either were an instructor, you worked in the kitchen, or you were a snow tube employee. Didn't really want to be an instructor. And anyone who worked in the kitchen got paid $7.50. Anyone outside, because it was colder, you got paid $8. And I was like, I don't mind being outside. But just think about that for a second. $8 for an hour. $8 for an hour. And this was back in 2014, 2012, 2013. 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts if you were there the entire day, just to come home with $80, $92 if you did a massive shift. That's insane to think about. Rough. I couldn't imagine waking up now, going from 7 to 7 just to be able to bring home $90. Could you imagine that type of work?
No, I cannot.
And that's honestly why I started getting involved in stock trading. So when I have my bigger days and I make, let's say, 10,000, 15,000, or when I have a massive month and I'm crossing six figures, I absolutely take a second and think to myself, I remember where I came from. And I think that's something that, keeps me very humble. I don't want to be a guy that's just showing off constantly saying, oh, this is, how much money I'm making. This is what I've done. I want people to be inspired by it. I want people to be motivated by it because I've been in that spot where I just feel like I have so much more than what I'm actually doing at this time. No one wants to go ahead and be a snow tube employee and push people down for hours upon hours and saying, what am I doing with myself? I'm literally outside in the cold in January right here, just pushing people down a mountain. And at the end of the day, they give me $90 just to say, hey, you know what? Good job. I'll see you tomorrow. It's like, nowadays, I guess, with inflation, everything that's been risen, I don't know what the minimum wage is at this point. Was it like?
I still think it's $7.25 in Pennsylvania.
Dude,
I think it really
if that is the case, that is insane.
But
I'm just going to assume, let's say it's like, if you did the same job, you're getting paid $12 an hour, maybe like $13 an hour. But even on that fact, if I, again, still did that job outside in the cold, waking up and saying to myself,
$7.25. Sorry for cutting you off.
$7.25.
$7.25, 2023 minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, wow. That's just even crazier to think about. And that's something that honestly inspired me to get out of that. That was the first kind of bad taste in my mouth where I said, I don't want to be an employee. Like, I don't want to be an employee in any sort of way, because if I'm an employees, when you think about it, are never going to be able to get paid that $1 million salary. Unless you are an NFL player, a basketball player. the person who starts the business, the CEO, why would they pay their employees ever, that much? They keep that much and they give the employees just enough to make sure that they can get by, that they're satisfied, they're happy, and then they keep the rest of it. That's being an employee. You basically just get enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm happy with this. I don't want to step out of line. I'm just going to do what I'm doing because this is, again, paying the bills at the moment. And that's what I realized at such a young age. And I said, I just do not want to do this any sort of sense. But, getting back to the question is, do I think about the money when you make it? Absolutely. I'm extremely blessed. I'm extremely grateful for where I'm at. But I think the most important thing is that I started with that job that only paid me that minimum wage. And, going from that minimum wage to where I'm at now, it keeps me more hungry. It keeps me more inspired every single day. There's not one day I wake up that I say to myself, I don't want to work. Because I know what I could fall back to. I know what people are currently doing. I know, again, there's kids in Pennsylvania right now making $725 apparently. So when I wake up every single day and I say, wow, I just made X amount yesterday. I just made this amount last month. What do I have to complain about? I'm working the best job in the world. What in the world do I have to complain about in any sort of sense? So that's what I love about it.
That's cool. I like the relation that you had at the beginning of it with going to the casino and chips, because it's an interesting dynamic, because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, it's for some reason, once you take that cash to the casino and you get chips, it's almost like money doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's just like, it's not real. It's a piece of clay or a piece of whatever it is.
That's the trick they get you. And that's almost the same exact thing with stock trading. I mean, I'll be honest, there's been weird times and, back in my younger days where maybe I'm at a casino and, it's you have that, $25 chip or whatever. And maybe there's a little cocktail waitress walking by, and instead of just flip her a little green chip. And then it's like, I just gave this lady $25
for walking by because she looked good.
Yeah. And it's like, what am I doing? What's going on here? Like, but the thing is, you would never do $25 in cash. And the same exact thing kind of goes with stock trading. You see that green number, and that green number, all of a sudden it'll be up 500. And then all of a sudden it's red 500. Now it's up again, green 2000. And all of a sudden it's red 2000. And then you again take a win or you take a loss and you say to yourself, oh man, okay. But you realize, like, that's real money. Like, that's what you transfer over to your bank account. And then again, you pull that out of the ATM. If we actually had, let's say, just some way that's like, okay, you put 2,000 in, you get down 1,000, my heart would be racing so much more crazier and faster, just because it's actual tangible right in front of you at this moment. So it's a weird thing that you definitely have to get used to as a stock trader, that I feel like a lot of people, especially nowadays, get lost in, because they just see that number dropping and dropping and dropping, and it doesn't really hit them that, wow, all my money's gone just like that.
Until they can't even afford a gallon of milk. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
To kind of expand on that too, right? So I don't know about you, but when I'm sitting at a poker table, right, this isn't going to turn into some gambling conversation. I can relate to poker because we've played poker a lot, and that's what kind of like our thing is. But there's stress that you get when you're moving sums of money, right? Like when you play in like the 5-5, the 5-10 games, things of that nature, and pots are like in anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000, and you have that stack of chips, you have a stack of 500, and you're pushing that forward. There's a little stress involved, right? Like my heart still races, right? Even at a 1-2 game sometime in the pot 600, but my heart races sometimes. I don't know why, but played well over 12 to 10,000 hands, my heart races. So I can only imagine now translating that now to stocks, like how stressful that could be, right? So where along the lines do you feel like the barrier to understand that stress level? What do you do to cope with it? How do you, there's a lot in poker, there's a lot of swings, right? You can be up 12 grand. The next day you go play, you're down 10 grand and you really only made 2 grand in 2 days, but accumulately you've seen $20,000, $30,000 be crossed. So what do you do to cope with that stress? Like, and then take that in advance too, like to get to the next question is people that think of stock market instantly mentally go, man, that's numbers, finance, that's gotta be a butt ton of stress thrown on them. Is that really the truth? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, so let's start about it like this. The first thing that you talked about, was your heart racing and you getting very excited, and, you played so many different hands, but every single time you sit down and play poker, you get that a little adrenaline rush. The thing that I think has caught up with me at times, which is not a good thing. And it's not something I want to brag about, but I feel like a lot of traders probably have gone through this as their accounts have grown and as they've gotten better. I enjoy that, a little bit of that adrenaline rush. And I enjoy a little bit of that adrenaline kick, because that small amount of fear that, oh, wow, I could possibly lose, it keeps you sharp. The thing is, the moment you start losing fear is the moment that you start making mistakes. I used to skydive all the time, and I used to ask all the instructors and say, hey, do you ever get scared, jumping out of planes? And they say every single time, every single time they're scared, even after thousands and jump, because that small little hint of fear keeps you sharp, keeps you aware of what you're doing. And the thing is, I don't want to lose that fear. I still want to have that little adrenaline rush where I'm saying to myself, this is real money. And if I again lose this money, I'm not going to be able to afford to be able to pay bills or live my life or do things along those lines. But as again, your account grows, you do start building up a tolerance. A tolerance is going to build. Your mind or your heart, the muscle is going to start getting adapted to how much money you're trading. So for instance, the very first time you ever trade, you might put $100 in the line and your heart is absolutely racing. But if I put $100 in the stock market, it's not even going to do anything for me whatsoever. Then all of a sudden you may put 500, then 1,000, then 2,000. And the next thing you know, you're not getting that adrenaline rush unless again, you're putting $20,000, $50,000 per trade. So the thing is, to kind of keep you sharp, sometimes you have to keep going bigger and bigger and bigger, because you keep building up that tolerance because you're so used to making more and more and more money. So, a problem is sometimes people lose, let's say $2,000 and they say, $2,000, no big deal. I've made again $8,000 before. $2,000 is still a good amount of money. And next thing you know, your account's a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. Then again, you don't realize that, I just lost another, $3,000. No big deal. Again, I've made, $20,000 before in a day. The next thing you know, you're down. And now your account is all the way back down to little. And because you didn't keep that sharp edge, because you didn't realize that, hey, you know what? I'm losing because I'm just acting like money's no big thing. That's where you're starting to say to yourself, my account's gone. My money's gone. And that is where the pressure really starts kicking on in again. Once you get to that point where your confidence is way up too high, you usually end up seeing your account drop down extremely low. And I feel like maybe every single stock trader have gone through this before. When they start going on that winning streak, they start getting overconfident. They start over trading. They start taking setups that they shouldn't take. We start doing things that it's like, I'm invincible. I'm never going to lose. And then really quickly, the stock market humbles you. Really quickly, the stock market says, nope, this is not happening. And that's where, you really have to take a step back and say to yourself, all right, hey, this is, of course, how to trade the right way. Let me make sure I get back to my basics. But when it comes down to pressure, I definitely still feel that pressure. And I think, every single trader who does this full time can relate to that, can relate to the pressure, where stock trading profits is how I pay my bills. It's how I pay my house. It's how I pay for my car. It's how I pay for my groceries. There is pressure every single day. I want to make sure that everyone understands that I love what I do. I love having fun with it. I enjoy it. I win, of course, more than I lose. That's how I'm able to do it. But I wake up every day and yes, there is pressure behind it. And I feel that pressure. And you hear about like the stereotypes of stockbrokers, feeling so much stress and so much pressure because they are, again, handling people's money and they're handling their own money. And the last thing you ever want to do is take one bad decision, one bad call. And that's why you do have to diversify. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. You do have to, again, take it easy. Make sure, again, you're doing the right steps and don't go for that one big moonshot. Don't go for that one big gamble. You can go there are stories of people going from 0 all the way up to 100, making $1 million. But the majority of millionaires, the majority of people who are actually successful in the stock market, their graph, if you want to think of an X and Y axis, isn't like this. It's like this. It takes time. It's patience. It's going to be slowly moving up over time. We all want to make money, but the thing is we aren't all patient enough to make money. And that's where a lot of traders end up getting themselves in trouble. We want to go from $2,000 to $100,000 in 2 weeks. That's where we lose all our money. Where instead, if we say to ourselves, let's go from $2,000 to $100,000 in, let's say, a year and a half, that's a lot more achievable. And we're probably going to have a better success rate if we set up to do that rather than, again, have some sort of crazy game plan to do it within that 2 weeks. So it does come down to making sure that we understand how to be able to make money in the market. And just to get to your last little point right here about pressure is I think one of the best ways to deal with pressure is you were in the military. I was, again, an athlete growing up, throughout high school. And I think a lot of us can relate to, getting to that pressure. And I think about it in sports all the time where there are times that we may not think that we have a chance or we may not think like we can do this, but we always kind of find that next level. Like we always find that little gas in the tank. There's so many times where I've taken losses in my life where I say, oh, wow, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm going to quit. I walk away. I take a little bit step back, get myself together, get back after it. The thing is, if you quit, you're never going to get to what you want to be. If you quit, you literally just go back to working at Jack Frost Big Boulder. And I feel like right now that Jack Frost Big Boulder hates me. But the thing is, like, if you quit, you go back to that 9-to-5 life. And, the thing is that there is nothing for me over here. Like, there is nothing for me at that 9-to-5 job. There is nothing that I ever want. There's no option of quitting. There's only an option of continuing to move forward. So those times that I have trouble, those times that I'm on those red streaks, those times where I feel to myself, man, this is tough. I think back to myself where I said, hey, you know what? I've gone through so much before. You in the military, there's probably been times in boot camps or different, objectives or missions where you just say, this is tough. Who cares? Buckle up. Let's get it done. And that's, again, the mentality that you have to have every single day. So if you have that mentality, you can really handle the pressure very well.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too kind of goes back to the basics. You said that a couple of times, like, the ego obviously sets in, right? Like, it's the same thing. Hate to go back to poker, but when you start winning, you have 5, 6, 7 great sessions in a row. The ego sets in, like, I can't be beat. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get slapped and it humbles you real quick. I think that's actually, you made a good point about, that happening, right? And it's a good thing to you always go back to the basics. So there's new traders that are always looking to get in, enter the market, things like that, but they never really know where to go, right? With what you're doing with Tradecaster and the members that are coming into your chat room, are you seeing any mistakes that these new traders are making, things that they're trying to accomplish that, maybe it's like, hold on one second, take a chill pill. Like we all want to make the $100,000-$200,000 trades, but let's go back to the basics. Let's learn the system a little bit. Let's take those $200-$300 wins as we begin to grow. So what mistakes are you seeing new traders looking to get into the market now? And what can you do to help them achieve those, to make sure they're not making those mistakes constantly?
Honestly, it's been the same mistakes that traders have always made. The first thing that traders always mess up on is they start too quickly. We want to make money. You want to make money. I want to make money. No one wants to be told, okay, but you have to do this for the next 3 months first. You want to do this for the next 6 months. If you said, oh, I want to go on vacation right now, and I say, okay, we'll work the next 6 months, then you can go on vacation. Well, I want to go on vacation next week. The thing is, no one wants to put in that time. And that's going to be your biggest disadvantage. I talk to every single trader that's put in a year. They always say, thank goodness I didn't trade when I first started. I talk to every trader that has been in the market for 2 years. They all say to themselves, thank goodness I didn't start trading after my first year. I talked to a trader that, again, has been trading for 5 years, and they say, thank goodness I didn't trade my first 2.5 years, because every single year you get better. Every single year you get more educated. Every single year you're going to look back and you're going to say, wow, I really didn't know that much last year. I'm 9 years in now, going to my 10th year, and I can say to myself, I probably didn't fully understand the market in every single way, probably until about 5 years in, where I fully grasped it. And there's still more that I'm learning, of course, and you're always going to be picking things on up, if that's watching courses or watching videos, or subconsciously just watching, understanding things by looking at the markets every single day. But there is no ceiling on education. And the last thing I want people to do is rush into the market, to rush into the place. But right now is a very tough time to be able to tell traders that, and for them to really grasp it, because we're seeing so many things at lows, the FOMO that's kicking in, where people don't want to miss out on the next bull rally. We just went from, again, 2021, where things were crazy, everyone was making money, 2022, where everything started dropping on down, and now everyone's saying, wow, Tesla's down 55%. Oh, we're seeing Google down 40%. We're seeing Apple down 20%. Oh, I don't want to miss out on the next bull run. I need to get in. I need to get in. I need to get in. I love, again, the enthusiasm. I love the passion. I love how everyone wants to, again, make this their job, because the thing is, at the end of the day, that there's more than enough money for all of us. There is no reason for me not to help someone, not to teach them my secrets, to teach them my strategies. There's nothing that should be secretive in any sort of way. There's literally over $10 trillion in the stock market. You can get 20 billion. I could get 20 billion. This guy could get 20 billion. This guy gets, and it would have no effect in the stock market in any sort of way. So we can all, again, work together to be able to have the most amount of success. So the number one thing I would say is be willing to put in the work. My favorite analogy that I give all the time in chat, anyone who's listening, in Tradecaster is probably sick and tired of hearing this. But if you think about it as, let's say, going to college, when you go to college, you want to be a teacher, you go to school for 4 years. You want to be a doctor, you go to school for 8 years. You want to be a lawyer, you go to school for 8 years. You want to be a stock trader. Oh, let me just open up my Robinhood account and deposit money. Deck, why am I not good at stock trading? The thing is, if you do a year and you say, okay, I'm ready to trade, honestly, you are just out of freshman year of, let's say, your stock trading education. You put in 4 years, you have basically your degree. Everyone wants to be able to make this massive amount of cash, massive amount of money. And the thing is, usually jobs that pay the best are jobs that you go to school the longest for, such as, doctors or surgeons or lawyers. Stock trading is a job that you can make massive amounts of cash, but it's not going to happen within that first 3 months. So what I always suggest is, yes, paper trade. And I know a lot of people who listen to this are saying, oh, I don't want to paper trade. Paper trading, guys, I don't have the same emotion. Paper trading, I can't feel the same emotion when I'm in on a trade. I have to, again, put some skin in the game. Guys, it's not supposed to bring emotion in. Paper trading is supposed to give you experience. That means you're supposed to see chart patterns, recognize chart patterns, find supports, find resistance, learn how to use your broker, learn how to use limit orders, find different chart setups that you enjoy that work out for you, learn how to short, learn different candles. It's for experience, not for emotion. Then after you gain your experience, that's when you start putting some skin on the game. And just like we talked about before, we build up our tolerance. First month, go ahead and just throw in, 10 shares. 10 shares, the most you're going to make most likely on, let's say, a penny stock or a smaller play, you're probably going to make maybe $10, maybe $20. But the most you're going to lose is $20. But just having a little skin in the game, your heart's going to race. Then after maybe 2 weeks or so of your heart calming on down, then you go up towards, again, 50 shares. Then you do that for about 2 weeks until you start, calming down, you start controlling your emotions. Then you go to 100, 200, 500. This whole process of gaining experience, of building up your tolerance is probably going to take about a year. But when you come out after that year, you are going to be absolutely fantastic. And the thing that I tell traders all the time is, are you willing to give up right now 1 year of your life? Are you willing to give up 12 months of your life to have the next 70 years of financial freedom? Are you willing to say to yourself right now, hey, if I do 12 months of work, I don't have to work a 9 to 5 anymore. I don't have to commute anymore. I don't have to, again, work underneath a boss that I'm not happy with anymore. Give me 12 months and you'll be able to live the rest of your life being your own boss, doing your own thing, work in the stock market, working your own hours. But still, for some reason, I don't understand why people still are just like, well, I'll do 3 months. This is not like an agreement. Like this is 12 months or you don't give 12 months. Yeah. It's like basically like, oh, I want to get in shape. And it's like, okay, let's cut out donuts. Well, what about 3 donuts? 3 donuts. And it's like, this isn't like, do you want it or not? It's so simple. It's so easy. Put in the work, you get the results, but no one is willing to put in there. We got 1%, 2% of people who are actually willing to do it.
Yeah. It's cool because I could translate across any industry, right?
Anything.
I'm in sales, like I speak to businesses all the time as well, like for my business and things like that. And it's like content wise, dude, my one video didn't go. I'm like, well, how many videos have we done? 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Trust me, I understand that frustration, but that's just not how it works. It takes time. Like, who the hell are you? Sure, you might be somebody here, but somebody in Illinois, someone in California, they don't know who you are. Like you have to build that rapport and that comes, but it takes time, right?
Yeah.
They always like the 6-month rule in media is what it is. Do it for about 6 months. If you can do it for 6 months and you tough it out and you do what it is, eventually it comes back to kind of give you that, that like push into like the next direction that where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of want to have a change of convo here because I think the conversations I'm having with business owners, they're scared shitless of this recession, right? It's there, it's here, it's happening. It's just, there's no denying it. I don't think at this point, like people like, no, there's no denying it at this point. So where do you feel the stock market is going to go? Like what's next for the market? Mm-hmm. And then after that, we'll kind of jump into the next part of the question, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts on where you think the market's going to go.
Yeah. So as of now, I'll tell everyone at this moment, I am a little bit more biased towards the downside. Now, immediately, I want to say I'm biased towards the downside, that I believe the market's going to fall, but I want to be fair and be able to give both sides and both points. So the way that I think about it all the time is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, who controls the money, basically is fighting inflation, make sure that we have a stable economy. People always say, don't try to time the market. Don't try to time the market. You're not going to be able to time the market. Honestly, forget that. That's what poor people say. You can time the market. The same exact thing happens over and over and over and over again. We hear about the stock market cycle, but you can also hear about the Federal Reserve cycle. They do the same exact thing every single time. And you can look back at previous charts, if that's all the way back in 2008, all the way up to the pandemic. What we have here is we are raising rates at the moment. We raised rates 8 times back in 2022. We had a 0.25, we had a 0.5, we had a whole bunch of 0.75s, and we finished off with another 0.5. As we raise rates, that's going to make monetary policy very tight. Essentially, we're raising rates to make things more expensive so people stop spending. We're turning off printing out money. The money machines are off, if we want to think about this.
They're shutting down the economy.
Yeah,
they want to.
Exactly. So we're slowing down the economy. So many traders have been saying, oh, 2023, the market's going to spike now. Why? Why would we see any difference whatsoever? Because at this moment, we still have to do 3 more rate hikes. We still have more rate hikes coming on up. February 1st is going to be one. We're going to be having, I believe, another one in March, and then we're going to be having another one most likely in May. So the thing is, we are still going to be raising rates. And as we raise rates, we're not going to be seeing any sort of different result. In 2022, if we saw the market drop 28% at the peak, finish off the year down about 19.8%, and we're still on a downtrend in 2022 into 2023, I'm not expecting to see anything different until we start doing something different. And I know I relate a lot of stuff to fitness because I just think it's very easy for everyone to understand. In 2022, if you woke up every day, drank, let's say, a milkshake, did nothing, sat on your butt, played Fortnite all day, and you gained a ton of weight. You looked hideous. You looked disgusting. Then you head on over to 2023 and you say, man, I really want to change. But you do exactly the same thing. You wake up, you drink, a milkshake, play some Fortnite, sit on your butt. Are you just going to look in the mirror and all of a sudden magically be jacked? The only way you're going to be jacked is if, of course, you start doing something different. Cut out the milkshakes, go outside, go get some sunlight, you weirdo. Go ahead and start, exercising, whatever that could be, right? That's where you start seeing different results. The Federal Reserve is still doing the same thing. We're not going to see any different results. What are the current results? Dropping. So that's phase 1. Phase 2 is going to happen most likely as you head into May. In May, we are going to pause interest rates. We are going to pause again raising rates in any sort of way. We are going to pause rates because the economy is going to get so bad that the Federal Reserve is going to say, hey, you know what? We can't keep doing this. We can't keep dropping the market. We're already seeing at this time, Google just announced layoffs. We have Apple with layoffs.
Amazon,
we have Microsoft with layoffs. We have Amazon with layoffs. Everyone is already starting the layoffs, and we are going to start seeing that market start turning on down. Phase 2 is when we pause interest rates, and that's usually where we start finding some sort of bottom. Now, every single time in history, throughout, again, the Federal Reserve cycle, when we start cutting rates, is when every single bull market in history has started. How crazy is that? And no one talks about that. When we talk about cutting rates, every single time we have ever cut rates, that's when a bull market has started. So if you want to be the easiest trader in the world right now, if you want to stack up your cash at the moment, there's actually an article just posted on CNBC yesterday that I read that said this is the time that the majority of Americans or majority of investors are saving for that next bull rally. Because I think the most of us who are studying, we know the moment we start cutting rates is the moment that we are going to head into the next bull rally. When did that happen last? 2020, when we had the pandemic. We dropped interest rates. Everything became less expensive. We sent out again checks for everyone, and everyone spent like crazy. Everyone was going nuts, and that brought up the economy back up towards, we basically developed a monster of inflation. So we're not going to see a run like that. But at the start of, hey, we're cutting interest rates, phase 3, the printing machines come back on. Everything becomes cheap. We start cutting rates and everyone starts getting excited. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. If you want to be the best investor where you say, hey, right now I'm just watching this podcast. I just stumbled across it on YouTube. I really don't know anything. I just want to know where to invest. Wait until the start of cutting rates. Now, when is going to be cutting rates? Jerome Powell, the head speaker of the Federal Reserve, says he will not cut rates until the start of 2024. But most people believe that the market's going to get so bad that they have to. So they're going to say probably October is when they believe that we are going to start seeing the start of a bull rally. Now, that means, people say, well, what can I invest in? I mean, when the markets move up, usually a lot moves up with it. Google will move up, Amazon move up, Tesla move up, everything will move up with it. Cryptocurrencies will move on up, commodities move up, everything moves up in bull times. We have also, again, if you want to think about this, the average bear market lasts about 14 months. The average bull market usually lasts for about 9 years. We see very strong bull markets from 2008 all the way on up towards, again, 2021. Now, again, we're seeing a nice bear market. We could have the next 5 years, next 6 years of a bull rally. So we want to really be saying to ourselves at this time, hey, as we start cutting rates, that's the time we want to start getting involved.
Yeah, Tesla calls 2027, right?
There you go.
No, you answered the second part of the question, which was going to be like, when would be a good time for people to get in, right? Mm-hmm. I think we've talked about it on previous episodes and stuff about like waiting for those rates to drop, but I was just always curious to hear it. So yeah, Jerome Powell though, that guy can kick rocks. for all I care.
Uncle JP, you don't like him?
I can't stand JP, man. Guys, I love that Uncle JP. I think that's Uncle Sam. No, Uncle JP. He runs the world.
Uncle
not
JP.
Uncle Sam. No, one, and then one last thing, man, because I know we got to get you to get out of here. You know, I'm always on trends. I love trends. And recently, I don't know if you've seen the chat GPT trends that everybody's doing. And now if people go to TikTok, it's like, I developed this trading solution. No, you didn't. Like the answer is no. Like I use chat GPT all the time to like develop like simple word tracks for certain things. You're not developing full blown programs like that. You're just not. Trending. Right? So let's just say it's October, hikes start dropping, market potentially starts turning around. What trends do you think are going to take off? And when I mean take off, I'm saying like, it's almost like they're on a leash right now and they're sitting down, but then all of a sudden the market's going to go and you can't even hold back and you let them go and they're gone. Like you're not even going to see it.
That's the magic question. Because I mean, every single person right now, everyone wants to find like, what is the Bitcoin investment? Let's imagine it's 2012, 2013. What is the next Bitcoin? And I'm not talking about what's the next actual cryptocurrency, but what's actually the next Bitcoin-like investment that could go all the way up to the moon. You invest $1,000 and in 10 years, you're a billionaire. You know, what is that? And there's a lot of speculation behind that. I mean, no matter if you listen to me or if you go on Reddit or if you go anywhere, people are going to be saying a million different things. As of now, if I had to pick something, I would probably lean towards, there's actually two things I have in my mind at this moment. Two things. Number one, I would probably say artificial intelligence. AI. It's picking up a lot. I know you brought up, chat GPT and chat GPT. It is pretty insane.
It's cool.
It is pretty insane.
Really
it
cool.
is pretty crazy. And I right now it's only their version 1. They actually have a private version as well. They haven't released yet, but just think about all the things that can do already. And that's like our first main exposure to artificial intelligence. And I would say this, and I'm going to speak very pessimistic at this time. I'm thinking like, worst case scenario for the American people. A little disclaimer here. Let's say that this program, just this program alone, starts getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. As let's say a CEO, why would I need, let's
14,000 employees?
Why would I need my employees?
You never would.
Why? Or on top of that, why would I need certain programmers or coders? If we can, let's say, program ChatGPT to be able to say to her, I went on the other night and I said, to ChatGPT, I said, please type me a basic cryptocurrency coin. If you want to create a cryptocurrency. It said, no problem. And gave me the outline, gave me, to start my own cryptocurrency. Right there, that was a job for some people. Some people would hire people to say, hey, you know what? Hey, create me a cryptocurrency program. Imagine if we start getting bigger and bigger. Hey, make me this program. Make me this program. Mm-hmm. Let's just say, okay, boom, programmers out of business.
You know what's going to happen? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's not going to be, the consumer's not going to be able to afford to use it. Like the general consumer, because right now it's free, right? It's doing it, and this is my opinion, but this is like, I'm also like, I've done a stupid amount of research on it, way more than I probably should have. But the idea that it doesn't look past 2021, right? It only knows the internet up to 2021. And they're working to implement like a full web, like of anything that's on the web so that it goes and scours it. If that technology truly gets developed, the average consumer, the average use and eyes, we're not going to have any sort of access to this thing. We're not going to. There's the people that developed it are going to, they did it. They've created the one thing people have been trying to create.
Yeah, but I mean, think about how much money they can make though off of it.
Right, but the general consumer's not going to be able to afford it. They're not going to come after the person that works at 559 Main Street. They're going to go to San Fran.
Or you make it free and you just monetize it. I mean, that's, Google, obviously they have all their ads and sales. I mean, think about if just, ChatGPT, there's actually a new browser that just came out. I think it's called Find, where it starts with a P, P-H-I-N-D. And it's set just like Google. And you type in whatever you want and it gives all the Google results and it gives the ChatGPT answer. So it gives you the answer right away with all of the other, search results as well. And that's actually starting to gain a little bit of traction behind it, which I do like. I was seeing if they had a stock that you can invest in. Unfortunately, they don't. So there's nothing there right now. But so I mean, kind of going back to a little like, my little doomsday talk, a little bit. Just think about, okay, hey, I have a marketing team. Guys, marketing team, all 12 of you. I want to figure out the best ways to be able to market this product. ChatGPT, what are the best ways to market this product? Hey, all you guys are fired. So the thing is, like, that would be the worst, case scenario where artificial intelligence does things better than employees can. And now let's say as a CEO, you're saying, oh, I'm spending $20 million on employees. Why don't I just keep my money for myself? And that sounds wrong and that sounds bad. But I'll be honest with you. A lot of people are going to be extremely greedy. Do you think a lot of CEOs care about their employees that much that they're saying $20 million or again, keep this guy here? I know it's not morally correct. I know it's not morally right. And I'm not saying this in any sort of way, but that guy most likely will put in tons of layoffs so he can have more money and he can again have, more profit towards himself. That's one bad thing. Now, again, the other side of that is people say, well, if no one has a job, well, no one is going to be able to afford to be able to pay for certain things or be able to buy for certain businesses. There's actually been a lot of talk already about, universal base pay, where essentially it's like, oh, you're an American. Here's $2,500, every single month. Didn't we just talk about that of me working back again at Big Bowler? I mean, hey, Big Bowler is going to come at me, but hey, didn't we it was the job where we work our 9 to 5 just to keep ourselves happy, just to keep ourselves essentially quiet, just to say to yourself, hey, you're satisfied, right? Yeah, you're good. You're going to pay off. Yeah. But you're working way too hard. There would be tons of people that say, oh, I don't have to do anything. I just wake up and I get paid $2,000. I wake up and I'm good for the month. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I guess that's better than work. So imagine doomsday wise talk still on this. We go ahead, we have universal base pay. You just get paid in a paycheck. People don't have to work. They're happy with it. And they got a little spending money. They have, again, their bills. And then the rich keep getting even richer. The rich keep getting up even higher. So that's one thing about, just the tippity tip of artificial intelligence that we have already, where, things are, starting to pick up quickly. Now, there's no certain stock. And if you want to think about it, Bitcoin is one coin in all of cryptocurrency. When people say, oh, let me invest in artificial intelligence, does anyone ever say, oh, let me invest in cryptocurrency? People say, let me invest in Ethereum, let me invest in Bitcoin, let me invest in Monero, let me invest in whatever. So artificial intelligence is an entire sector. There's going to be something inside there that, will be probably that one big explosion. Now, if you look on the internet right now, everyone says, oh, what's the best, artificial intelligence? Oh, Google, Meta, NVIDIA, these are all, but they're already kind of big giants. There's probably going to be some sort of, smaller startup that's really going to catch fire. The other trend that actually kind of came up the other day was there was actually like a 60 Minutes conversation on this, which was about nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion, they actually just figured out a way to stabilize nuclear fusion, something they've actually been trying to do for 70 years now. And us being able to stabilize it, it's perfectly healthy for the environment. There's no CO2 emissions whatsoever. And, imagine if essentially you could just drive your car forever without any sort of gas and any sort of way. Imagine you could heat your house forever without any sort of bills or not bills. I would say there would definitely be some sort of bill still, but any sort of environmental cause, us worrying about running out of fossil fuels. I was actually very interested on that. I typed in on Google yesterday and I typed in, when will oil run out? And it was 2060. They said oil is going to be running on out. 2080, coal is completely gone. I mean, when you actually think about that, and you could type it in on Google right now, that's 40 years away? Imagine if we don't hit, let's say, every vehicle, going on electric vehicles. And that's also what the reserves, the oil reserves running on out. We have to essentially move to electric vehicles or this other option, which is going to be, nuclear fusion. So there are a lot of, gas companies right now that have just put billions of dollars to this over the last week alone for nuclear fusion. You can look at some stock tickers, like Chevron, CVX. They are all looking for, nuclear fusion at this time. And, who knows, maybe that's going to be the next big thing. But, artificial intelligence getting very big. I know artificial intelligence, we're still just at the tip. We're not like at Ex Machina levels yet. You know that movie, right?
Ex Machina, you mean?
Oh, is that what it is?
It's Ex Machina, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Hey, when we get to that.
And anybody that's watching this, it's Ex Machina, and I will fight you to the death because that's what it is. People are going to say it's Ex Machina.
I don't even want that. When we get to that level, the Ex Machina, okay, that's going to be way too much. Next thing you know, I can't even imagine. There's going to be, people, it's just going to be completely out of hand. Could you imagine this world with, again, robots that start having feelings? And then next thing you know, there's, you kick a robot outside, there's protests, people with picket signs, robots have feelings. stop having sex with other people's robots, stuff like that.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's happening now. It's gonna happen.
Oh man, it's gonna be too much. It's gonna be too crazy. I want to take things slow around here.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, dude, thank you again for coming. I always love having you here. 2023, it's going to be a hell of a year, man.
Oh, it's going to be a
bumpy ride.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we'll get you back in here. We'll do. Oh, I love this.
It's going to be a good one.
We'll get together
We're
soon,
going to make
man.
it happen.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.